I'm always trying to find out the next way to add movement to my product photography, and that's where long exposure photography comes in. If you guys have watched some of my other videos, you can probably tell by now I like to add movement to my product photography, whether it's throwing objects through the frame or making things float. But it's always nice to change things up a bit and drag that shutter speed down nice and low for some long exposure product photography. You guys are probably pretty familiar with seeing long exposures taken outside using street lights and passing cars to create these beautiful long streaking paths that glow on a nice contrasty background. Photos like these look amazing and are probably some of the easiest photos to achieve, so why not tie that same exact concept into product photography? We're going to shoot some long exposure product photography using some simple string lights or your iPhone or tablet. So if this is your first time shooting long exposure photography, here are a few quick tips to help get you started. You'll need to shoot with your camera on a tripod, whether you're shooting with a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, or even your iPhone. You need to keep the camera as steady as possible in order to get the clearest image. Use a timer or remote. You want to avoid any shake in the camera, even when using a tripod. Just a subtle motion of pressing down the shutter can add shake to your photo, and which will result in a blurry image. For these photos, I'm going to be shooting at ISO 100, which will help us manage our brightness, as well as give us the least amount of grain in our photos. You can start by setting your shutter anywhere between 2 and 30 seconds or even longer, depending on the look you're going after. The longer your shutter speed, the more light you're allowing to enter the sensor, which will result in longer or shorter light trails. I like to shoot mine at about 2 seconds. Last but not least is aperture. Depending on the lights you're using and the style you're looking for, you can shoot at a higher or lower aperture. I'm going to be shooting all my photos at an aperture of f5.6. For long exposure, you're going to want to eliminate as much unwanted light as possible. So if you're shooting in a room with windows, make sure you cover them up. Or if you have lights on in the room, make sure you turn them off to get the best results as possible. As for lighting my subject, I'm going to be shooting most of these long exposure hacks using continuous lights, but you can easily substitute flashing if that's all you have around you. The technique we're going to be using throughout this video is called light painting, where you use light to paint trails throughout your image using long exposure. For this first hack, most phones nowadays come with a built-in light. Go ahead and turn it on, and all you're going to do is hit your shutter and wait for the countdown, and start waving your phone around your subject to paint in all your light trails. I usually do this about 5 to 6 times, experimenting with different motions until I get the look I want to achieve. If you want to add a little bit of color to your light, wrap it with a gel or put a piece of packing tape over your light and color it with a marker to add some color to your light trails. Then later in post, you can combine all your images using a screen blend layer and some simple masking to really make your image pop. Still using your phone or a tablet, open up a program like Procreate, create a black background, and take a nice solid brush and paint in a few dots. Save that image on your camera roll and open it up and crank up your brightness. Then make sure to lock your screen orientation so that your image doesn't flip as you move your phone or tablet. Go ahead and hit your shutter again and paint in your light trails. Different from the last hack, you can see it gives us multiple light trails and adds a little bit more uniqueness to your image. You can even get a little creative by using different color combinations to diversify your shot even more. I'm sure most of us have Christmas lights laying around the house in a box somewhere, so let's go ahead and plug those suckers in and start swinging them throughout the frame. Or if you want, you can attach them to a light stand or to a post to make sure you get nice even light trails in your photo. Still using Christmas lights, we're going to rig them up so they're spread nice and evenly throughout the back of your frame. I'm using 2 light stands, but feel free to use whatever you have laying around your house. For this hack, we're going to recreate that hyperspeed or star trail effect like you see in Star Wars or any other space movie by using a zoom lens. I primarily shoot on prime lenses, so the only zoom lens I have laying around is actually the stock lens that came with my A7 III, and it gets the job done perfectly. And for this hack to get the best results as possible, you're going to want to use a flash to freeze your subject in your photo. To start, turn your zoom lens to its highest millimeter and frame your shot. From here, you're going to press your shutter. Once your flash has gone off, very carefully spin your lens to its widest millimeter, and you'll be left with a photo like this. If you're shooting on an iPhone, you can still do some of these same hacks by using either the long exposure feature in the camera app, or by shooting a live photo and swiping up and changing your effect to long exposure. Your results may vary depending on your setup, but definitely give it a shot. These photos are a ton of fun and some of the easiest photos to achieve. So go experiment with different kind of lights for different kind of looks. If you guys come up with some cool concepts, please share them in the comments below. I appreciate your guys' support. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe. That's it for me, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.